What's happening? What's happening, y'all? We are back yet again. Consistent, you know it. Always on the grind. Lions 411. We back with another
Yeah.
episode, of course. Of course, it's King Keith joining y'all. You can follow me, of course, on Twitter, Instagram _ Dr. King's Dream. CB, I'm gonna toss it over to you.
Alrighty. So it is CB Sierra and that's dying. Uh, are those sirens? Anyway.
the sound of New Jersey.
Sound it up, please. Okay, anyway. So it is CB that distracted me. CB, you can follow me on TikTok, at 411 Lions. I don't know what's going on today. And then you can follow me on Instagram at CB Love That. Oh yeah.
Yes, follow us on TikTok for sure. Tic-tac-toe, everything. With that being said, of course, gonna go ahead and jump in. Lions. I feel like every week now it's a story that's a little bit better and better and better. And this past week, I don't know if it gets any better than that. I mean, obviously they're playing the Jaguars, and so the expectations are pretty high for them to perform well against the Jaguars. But the Lions rolled over Jacksonville. It's so funny because I had Red Zone playing. I wasn't really watching the game like fully because I was still in Arizona. And every time they gave an update, it was just like a big play for the Lions or a turnover for the Jaguars. 52-6 was the final score. Obviously, we'll talk about some things that impressed us and some things that we liked. But I mean, in a game like that, like I don't really know what there is negative to say. CB, you want to talk about some of the things that you liked from this game?
Well, I would definitely say Jared Goff needs to be an MVP conversation, of course. Lions, what I loved, I can't even say like, because I mean they hung 50 something on them. I would say what I like, 7 straight touchdowns, field goal, then down the ball to win. I mean 7 straight touchdowns. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Obviously, Kirby Joseph had an interception. I mean, that defense. Jacksonville couldn't even get a touchdown. Jacksonville couldn't even get a touchdown, man. I know we say this is Jacksonville, and obviously I had the Lions winning, but this is an NFL team, right? Like,
yeah, I guess so.
I'm just drinking my water like this. Every time a touchdown was scored, I was like, okay, cool. We already knew. We already knew what was gonna happen. I was just like, okay, cool. I mean, I'm just chilling, you know. But yeah, I would definitely say, obviously, Jared Goff had 412 throwing yards. I really liked in total, they had 645 yards. Wow. I mean, complete demolition job. They just pretty much took apart, dismantled Jacksonville, and hey, I really don't have nothing that I don't like. Hey, I wish every game could go like this.
Yeah, there really just aren't any negatives, and obviously the positives just go really really far. And again, I didn't watch this game play by play because of being out of town, but I was able to obviously you get a grasp of the game when the final score is 52-6. But I mean, yeah, the pass game was working, the run game was working, pass defense was working, run defense was working. I mean, everything is just kind of going. It's gotten to the point where like statistically this Lions team is like top 5 in pretty much every aspect of the game. There's an advanced metric which I think I may have cited before. It's DVOA. DVOA kind of like takes into account pretty much every form of like offense, defense, special teams, all that, and kind of gives teams a ranking. So it considers a lot of different aspects. And it kind of compiles it into one specific ranking. They have an offensive ranking, a defensive ranking, a special teams ranking, and an overall ranking. The Lions are not just number 1 in the league, because obviously they will be number 1 in the league in DVOA, because their statistical performance is amazing. They have the highest DVOA rating, third highest DVOA rating since 1991 of any team. The only 2 teams with a higher DVOA than the Lions are the 91 Redskins, now known as the Commanders, of course, and the 2007 Patriots, who, of course, went 17-0 and lost to the Giants in the Super Bowl. not comparing the Lions to either one of these teams yet, because obviously we still are in the regular season. But this is the best team in the league. We could just go ahead and say it. I know in the preseason we kind of tiptoed around it a little bit, and we're like, this team looks really good. This team looks like they don't have a lot of flaws. Like, this could be a really good team. I think they can do well. But nobody wanted to say that they were the best team in the league necessarily, because you don't want to be overly confident. But at this point in time, this is the best team in the league. I don't think that is that close either. I mean, obviously, Kansas City's still the defending champions. They finally suffered a loss this weekend.
Celebrate good time. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not even worried about Kansas City. It's whatever. They did lose at the hands of the Buffalo Bills, who we do play in a month, so that should be pretty interesting. And the Bills do look better than Kansas City, I'd say, though I still am not that impressed by them. I think they're a good team, but yeah, this is the best team in the league, and they're functioning as the best team in the league. To see them dominate the Jags, but also like not just from the offensive side, but from the defensive side, to hold them to 6 points. I know they got a backup quarterback, but like Mac Jones isn't a horrible player. He isn't a guy that hasn't played in the NFL before or seen any kind of success. So, yeah, I mean, like you said, there really just isn't anything but good things to say. Zadarius Smith picked up his first sack as a Lion, or half sack, I guess you want to say. Yeah, so impressive. You know, D-line still generating some pressure. Could obviously be better, but generating some pressure. Secondary playing well. I mentioned those DVOA rankings. The Lions are, I believe it's second in offense, first in defense, and first in special teams. Like, again, I think that everybody knew that the Lions' offense would be great, and we all came into the season saying, if the defense can catch up and be, you know, top 15-ish, top 12-ish, this could be one of the best teams in the league. They are like almost the best defense in the league at this point right now. So I don't know.
I got it down. We're also number 4 in forcing turnovers.
Exactly.
4 out of 32, I'll take
it. Like sacks, pressures, interceptions, fumbles. I mean, the coverage is good. I know they commit a few penalties, but like the coverage is good. Like everything is kind of just rolling on the defensive end, and it's kind of just a shock to see. I do have to point out, of course, Alex Anzalone did suffer an injury, which will probably keep him out for the rest of the regular season. I'd be surprised, of course, if he isn't back for the playoffs, which I'm not going to go ahead and pencil Lions in the playoffs, but like, come on now. Like it'd be a shock if they
pencil us in, daddy.
9-1 is pretty good. Like I know they had that 1 year way back. I think it was like 2015. I want to say 2016, where they started off 6-3, and everybody's like, "Oh, they're gonna make the playoffs," and they missed the playoffs. But like 9-1 is a different ball game. Yeah, it's a different territory. I mean, 1 or 2 wins kind of gets you in there at this point. And they have how many games remaining? Like 7. And it's not the toughest schedule, I'd say, either. So, We'll hopefully be getting Anzalone back. He broke his forearm, but it's a 6 to 8 week injury. So, knowing a guy like Anzalone, I'd expect early January for him to be back, which early January, beginning of the playoffs. So, that's really kind of the only thing I can complain about. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson is rehabbing now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to put too many hopes and expectations and things like that, but knowing the kind of worker that Hutch is, I mean, 2 months, I wouldn't be surprised if he's like getting at the coaches, like, let me play. So we'll see exactly what it looks like. But I mean, yeah, it's hard to find a negative about this team, Sierra. It really is.
It's definitely hard to find a negative about this team. I mean, they had Ford Field rocking, baby. Celebrate good time. Come on. I mean, Lions. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say you got any like unspoken kind of heroes or like guys that aren't receiving the attention? I mean, obviously Jared Goff was fantastic. The Lions had their 4th game now this season where they had more touchdowns than incompletions. I want to say it is. Yeah, more touchdowns than incompletions. 5 incompletions, 7 touchdowns. Yeah, insane. So there obviously guys like Goff are going to get their love, but is there any unsung heroes you think that aren't getting the attention they deserve?
For the most part, I think everybody's getting good attention. I think the national spotlight is starting to kind of more so creep on the Lions. They still every time want to talk about every time Dallas lose. Oh, what are they gonna do with Dallas? What are they gonna do? But yeah, I really don't know about an unsung hero per se.
Yeah, well, one is not really unsung because I think Aaron Glenn is starting to get the love that he deserves as the defensive coordinator. I do still feel like he deserves more love just because of the fact that Lions fans really were like ready for him to go last year. And I get it, the defense kind of held us back a little bit, but people kept saying if you give him the players, then maybe he'll look better. And he's been given the players, and Aaron Glenn's going to be a head coach next year for some team. Don't know who it is, but somebody's going to take him as a head coach.
No, stay with us.
Nah, Aaron Glenn's gonna go for sure. I know he's gonna go. We'll see what Ben Johnson decides to do because he's gonna have offers as well. But
Same.
we might have 2 new coordinators next year. One person who I do want to give some love to, just because I saw this stat yesterday, Kevin Zeitler, the right guard. Of course, the Lions did a little bit of shuffling with the offensive line this season where they let Jonah Jackson go to the Rams. Jonah Jackson just recently, I think, got benched by the Rams. So not being happy about him getting benched, but they replaced him with Kevin Zeitler, kind of switched him in Glasgow, but replaced him with Kevin Zeitler. Kevin Zeitler's having a great season. Pro Football Focus gave him a 90 overall grade again this past week, so 2 weeks in a row now, and he's a top 5 guard in the league this season. So it's like Brad Holmes just knows what buttons to press. Like, everybody's like, Jonah Jackson, we can't let him go. He's like, no, we can let him walk. We bring in Kevin Zeitler, who is a little bit older, to be fair, and fantastic. Like, you replaced a good player with a great player. So it's, again, everything is just kind of working right now. And I know that things will get a little bit tougher at some point, but like, this team looks very hard to stop. Like, if Houston couldn't beat us in that game where, we played about as bad as we possibly could have on a lot of ends, at least on offense. I don't know what it's going to take to beat this team.
Right. I think we are the best team in NFL. I mean, we got 8 straight wins. Best start since, 1934 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We are rolling. And I will say, if we played Tampa Bay, say Tampa Bay and Jags, if we were to switch them, we just played Tampa Bay Sunday, we would have got that ass. You lucky you played us early on where the offense it wasn't exactly chilling, but we would have got you.
That's all it was the offense wasn't rolling. They just hadn't found their rhythm yet. Even when they beat the Rams, they weren't really like precise necessarily. Those first 3 weeks, they were a little bit off. And then that Cowboys game rolled around and they were ready to go. And they've been ready to go ever since, besides that Houston game, of course. But again, there just aren't a lot of negatives to say. I mean, they're playing the Indianapolis Colts next week. The Colts are very like I mentioned last week, very average, just a mid-tier team. Not any better, not any worse, kind of. What are you expecting to see from that game? Because the Colts do have some interesting things going on, especially on the offensive end.
They do, but with Richardson being so young, but then again, I don't know, with Anzalone also being gone, Hutcherson gone, I still expect us to get after Richardson. I did not know Richardson was that young.
Yeah, and he didn't play a lot at Florida either.
The youngest quarterback in the NFL? He's younger than Caleb and Jaden Daniels.
Very young guy, very raw player.
Yeah, I definitely. Because they got the running back, Jonathan, right?
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor. Yeah,
Taylor. Our run defense. I'm not worried. I'm not worried. I'm not worried about you, Indianapolis. Sorry.
Yeah,
I'm not worried.
Yeah, looking at the matchup, I couldn't see myself being too worried either. I'd say the Colts offense is actually a little more interesting than their defense. Because the one thing that the Lions I feel like have had struggles with, and especially a team that's going to play man coverage a lot, running quarterbacks are probably going to cause some problems. Anthony Richardson is obviously one of the runningest of running quarterbacks. He's like right below that Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields kind of tier. So he'll probably have some runs where he breaks loose or, some sacks that he shakes off and makes some plays and things like that. And Jonathan Taylor is a really good player. Of course, you mentioned him. And they got some receivers that are pretty good too. Really young guys, but they got some interesting receivers. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the Colts put up a few points, but um, I don't know how this Colts defense is going to slow down this Lions offense. The only people that are slowing down the Lions offense is the Lions. If they make mistakes, then sure, it's whatever. But yeah, this Lions offense is rolling, and I don't think there's much this Colts defense can do about it. I think the Colts gave up 27 points to the Jets actually.
It was 27-28.
Yeah. And I'm not I mean the Jets obviously aren't the best team either. Offense is a mid again at best. But if you're giving up 27 points to the Jets, I mean I don't know how many points you're gonna give up to the Lions, who are very much a well-oiled machine at this point. So I don't know. We'll see if a team can stop the Lions. The Bills will be an interesting test for sure.
That's gonna be a good game.
It is.
That's gonna be a good game.
And see, that's the thing is I can't say that their defense. I think a team has to have a good defense in order to slow this Lions team down. Specifically, you need to have good linebackers, and you got to be good at pressuring the quarterback to be able to kind of mess with Jared Goff a little bit, because that'll slow down the run game, which then makes the Lions a little bit more pass dependent. And then you can make them a little bit one dimensional, blah blah blah. But if you can't do that, which again the Bills like. I don't know all the stats. I can't run through everything, but I don't know what they have on defense that's going to be like slowing the Lions down. I'm not sure who the team is at this point that's going to slow the Lions down. I'm not saying they're going to run the table or anything, but I'm not sure who I see on the schedule. Maybe a Green Bay or Chicago where rivalry game kind of peaks in and, they're really up for the game and they just kind of outplay us a little bit or play a little harder. But other than that, I don't know. Maybe Minnesota?
Maybe Minnesota. That's the only one I can really see. We'll see how the Bills do. Yeah, that defense is just average. Offensively, I mean, they got Josh Allen. He is in MVP conversation. Because what they do, just beat Kansas City, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Kansas City. Maybe the Bills. I would like to see how the Lions, because we don't play them often. I would like to see how the Lions deal with Josh Allen.
Yeah, the lack of familiarity thing does concern me, because I had that concern against Houston, and it kind of came up where it's like you don't play this team very often. This isn't a team that's like really much on your radar, and so I think that they, preparing wise, I don't know if they got what they expected from that team, and I can see Buffalo kind of throwing the kitchen sink at the Lions a little bit and giving them more than they bargained for, but on paper, I just am not really sure what a Bills team does to slow down the Lions very much. Again, I think Minnesota might be the best bet for getting another game off this Lions team. Again, I'm not saying they're going to go 16-1, but I could see it. I'm not going to lie.
I could definitely. I mean, we cruising. I mean, beating Jacksonville the way we did, and they still an NFL team. They may not be the best team ranked, obviously the one of the worst team, but I mean,
there are a couple teams that just very clearly need to restart in this league, and specifically at the coaching or quarterback position. And the Jaguars are one that it's way overdue. Like I have no idea how or why Doug Peterson is still their head coach, but he is. And if they see him as their head coach and that he's worthy of being it, then we got to go out there and play him, man. And we did, and I was impressed. I didn't think they needed to pull the starters any earlier than they did or anything like that. Let the guys play the game. They played up through the third quarter. Like, let them play. So, yeah, just full on impressed. Okay. I mean,
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like, at this point, it's like, what do we want to start talking about the Pistons or something? Like, the Lions have nothing new to offer us. They are just beating the hell out of everybody at this point. Go ahead.
Right, getting off of the Jacksonville game in our division, let me ask you this. Who do you think that if the Lions encounter in the playoffs could maybe end our season?
So I said this last week, and I hope that people realize this after they beat the Commanders on Thursday Night Football. It is the Eagles. It is absolutely the Eagles. The Eagles have the best team on paper, I think, outside of the Lions in the NFC. They have a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball. They have talent on the defensive line. The secondary is very young, but I don't know if you've seen the way Quinyon Mitchell, which shout out to the University of Toledo, go Rockets. I am an alum, 2-time alum of. Um, Quinyon Mitchell should probably be the defensive rookie of the year right now. He is playing outstanding, and I'm not shocked at all. Not shocked at all. I haven't seen Senior Bowl and the way he played in the offseason type stuff before the draft. So I think this Eagles team is good. I think even on defense, they're fine. Probably playing a little bit above their heads right now, but I think on defense they're fine. And on offense, decent quarterback. Jalen Hurts is not a world beater, but he's clearly a good player. Saquon Barkley is outstanding. The offensive line is still really good. And they got, to me, the best wide receiver tandem in the league. They're the team. They're the team. If the Lions lost to them, I would be like, you know what? That's a good team. We didn't play our best game. Anybody else, though, I can't see it.
Yeah, I can't see San Francisco at this point with how they are still one of the number one ranked offense, but with the injuries and what's going on there, and then Ayuk is out for the year. Mm-hmm. Kansas City, I guess you just never know with them. They may turn it on, but as of right now, they don't look that great. Eagles, I think the only thing I would be maybe concerned about would be maybe Saquon Barkley, but we do have an awesome run defense.
Again, they have two really good receivers, like really good receivers.
Right, and I was about to get to that. AJ Brown. I would maybe more so be concerned with the receiver. I think we can put a stop in somewhat on Barkley. Not completely, but
I agree. They can bottle up the run game. They've done it before against Saquon.
I think AJ Brown could be an issue. Could be. I would say not because of their offense, maybe their defense. I think we still beat them, but the Steelers' defense is just it's looking good. It's looking nice, but they can't score no points.
That's the thing with the Steelers. I think that the Steelers are not a good matchup for the Lions. I think the Lions match up very well against them. And they're an AFC team anyway, so it's like if they'd have to make it all the way to the Super Bowl, which I don't know if I see that, but
right.
I'd say in the NFC, like before the Super Bowl, it's the Lions. I'd say overall, not the Lions, it's the Eagles. Overall, I still think Houston is intimidating. I find them quite intimidating. Their run game is going with Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon's got it going right now. Nico Collins is back. Like I think that's a rather intimidating team. I still like to see them, like CJ Stroud, like really pull through. And CJ Stroud again can't really seem to beat teams from the state of Michigan. But I think that they're probably the team in the AFC that I think is the scariest. Them in Buffalo. And then I think Philly is the only team in the NFC. Atlanta's interesting, but like I don't think anybody believes in Kirk Cousins. I don't.
Right, because I got to take Atlanta out the mix because the way Denver handled that out west.
What is going on with Denver? Like, are they really good?
Yeah. So with Denver, I see glimpses. It's like, okay, they're really good, but then
that defense is legit.
They kind of lose. I think they're like 6-5, so they are third right now, I believe.
That's really good for what I think expectations were for the Broncos.
Yeah, because what's his name? Bo is rookie, but he good. He good. He definitely good. I'm not worried about him, but he's definitely good.
Yeah. I think the Broncos are interesting. I think the Chargers are interesting. Obviously, I'm a big Harbaugh guy. Go Blue, but
You did.
I did. But Harbaugh has that team rolling. They are playing really good defense. They just barely snuck it out against the Bengals, but the Bengals, regardless of their record, are a decent team.
But their defense is woof.
Yeah, their defense is really bad. They gotta figure it out in the offseason. But
Bengals ain't making the playoffs.
Nah, not in that division. Nah, they don't have a shot in that division. They got too many tough games to play. They literally have to win every single game and still might not get in. Chargers, though, interesting. Very interesting team as well. There are a lot of interesting teams, but I think that, Yeah, in the NFC, I think the only resistance to the Lions is the Eagles. And if they go out beforehand, I don't know. I mean, San Francisco's a team where I'm like, if the game is tied and you have the ball and you have to go down and score a touchdown to beat them, they are not stopping you. And they certainly are stopping the Lions. Like the Lions are going to shove the ball down their throats, in whatever given amount of time. So they just on defense just don't impress me at all. On offense, they're like, they're fine, I guess. Um,
But yeah, I
so
would definitely go.
Philly is the team. Philly is the team. I'm sticking with that.
All right. I think we could score a lot of points on Philly.
Oh no, I think the Lions would beat Philly. I'm saying if any team would do it, I think it's them.
Texans look interesting. But then again, I mean, well, I guess they did have their injuries, don't get me wrong, but I mean, we did throw 5 interceptions and still won that one, so.
Yeah, they got us at our worst, and we still beat them at home. Um, so I don't know. I don't think we're the best. We're the best matchup for them either. But I do think they have a really good team. I do think that's a team I could see the Lions playing if they make it all the way. But it's just not many.
Do you have, well, at this point, I guess it's kind of hard. Do you have the Lions in the Super Bowl? I do.
Yes, I do. I don't think that this isn't last year where I'm worried about, oh, well, how are they going to respond to being in a playoff position and all these kind of things, being the young team, being the new team. I think they got over that last year because really they could have won it all last year. They just had like 8 to 10 bad minutes in the game against a really good team. But yeah, I think this year, I just it's hard to find anybody I think is going to slow this team down. Things happen, teams have bad games. What if they do have another game where Goff throws, 3, 4 interceptions? That could make things a little bit uglier. But if that's not happening, if the Lions aren't turning the ball over, I don't know how teams beat them if they're not turning the ball over.
Yeah, I see us there as of right now. I see us there. I'm liking the way everything is rolling. And then you said we playing the Colts, what, at 1?
Yes.
Okay, so early game. So yeah, I got us winning the Colts. I'm going to say about 34-17.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me. I'll say the Colts do manage 24 points against us. But I think we put up about 40.
40-24.
Yeah, I'm thinking about 40 to 24. I think Anthony Richardson throws at least one interception.
I think the Colts, they can get about 17, but I think we're going to wear the Colts down after a while. I think so.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. I also do have a couple of the Colts players on my fantasy team. So, I mean, Lions, if y'all can spot them a few points, I wouldn't be mad at that. But
no, I'll be mad.
Please win the game. Please win the game. But I just it's hard to bet against this Lions team at this point. They look like the cream of the crop right now.
Yeah, we looking good. So, yeah, we got Indianapolis, and then after that, we got Chicago.
Thanksgiving against Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago, Thanksgiving. We'll win that. I don't like we have that short week, obviously, but we get that.
I don't know. Division games are always it's just hard to guarantee division games because teams really get up for those.
Yeah, but it is Chicago, and when I watch Chicago, they managed to just shoot themselves in the foot every week. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of analyzations of that Chicago offense. They're just doing things wrong. It's another coach that like he's kind of a sitting duck at this point. Like he's going to get fired, because they just aren't doing what they need to do. Like they aren't using players the right way on that team. So that's what makes me not afraid of them. Same thing with Philly. I think Chicago and Philly both are talented, but they don't have good coaches, or at least particularly effective coaches, like coaches that really add much to the team. Chicago's coach kind of takes away. But yeah, Chicago just the coaching is the biggest thing right now. They don't use their players properly.
Yeah, we should be able to get those. But other than that, for this week, hey, kind of a wrap up. Ain't nothing really too bad. Too bad.
Yeah, we'll check back in next week to see what kind of beat down the Lions put on their opponent, or maybe the Colts make it close. But we'll catch up with y'all. We'll get back with y'all at that point in time. But thank you again so much for joining us. Continue to like, share, listen, subscribe, whatever you like to do to engage with our content. But CB, I'm gonna let you wrap it up.
Alrighty, well, that was another week of the 411 podcast. You can listen to us on Apple 411, Lions 411 podcast, and Spotify. You can also follow us on TikTok if you want to see clips of the podcast. And people be questioning me like, "Oh, so what else y'all gonna say?" Yep, you gotta tune into the podcast. So tune into the podcast. That don't just only watch the clips, baby. There you have it. We are signing off.
Adios.